Hey everybody, Buddy Blake here with Agent Share, and I just wanted to welcome everybody, first of all, to this month's episode. We're going to talk about today, we're going to be talking with a couple people. We're going to be talking with Frank Kletzik, who owns and operates and actually hosts this from Vyral Marketing, and our good buddy down in South Carolina, Grier Allen, as long as his internet will hold up down there in Charleston, but the CEO of Boomtown. But we're going to be talking about how to engage with buyers, how to engage with sellers, and what are the techniques that are working really well now. We'll probably be discussing some of the Zillow stuff, all the all the new news there, and also just overall how to engage and how to convert more of the buyers and sellers, especially sellers, because we're seeing more markets move towards a seller market. And the good news about all of us, and my name is Buddy Blake, by the way. I own 5 Remaxes in the Wilmington, North Carolina area. Also on freehousevalues.com and Agent Share. And basically what we're going to do today is we want to share kind of knowledge. It's kind of like the new age star power, what it used to be with Howard Britton, except you don't have to pay to come here. But we want to share different ideas. It doesn't mean we're right, doesn't mean we're wrong, and hopefully get some lively disagreement. And I'm sure Greer and I can disagree on a lot of different things. But so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Frank. Frank is putting this on with Vyral. And Frank has a cold today, even though I was assured that people in San Diego never got sick. And then Grier Allen, who is just 3 hours south of me in Charleston with Boomtown. So, Frank, thank you for letting us do this, and hopefully you can contain yourself.
Sure, I'll do my best. And as you can tell, I have a little bit of a cold. But here's what we wanted to talk about today. Today's hangout's all about, what do you do to attract, convert, and engage leads online. So for the first 20 minutes or so, we want to talk about specifically what people are doing to attract the best seller and buyer leads online, specifically maybe on Facebook and Google pay-per-click. Then we're going to talk about the conversion. What are the offers and landing pages to get the correct contact information and where those offers are heading, we believe, in the future. And then once you actually have that contact information, it goes in the back end of the CRM system or whatever you're using for your lead follow-up. What are you sending them over time and how long, and what are you sending them to get them to engage with you to start a conversation to hopefully convert them into deployment and then obviously into a sale. So hopefully I said all that without being too painful with my cold today.
It sounded pretty painful.
Okay, I bet. So, buddy, let's.
I was going to welcome Grier from Boomtown. Grier, hello down there.
Hey, buddy. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I know you guys are busy hatching out all that new stuff down there.
Yeah, man. We've got some exciting stuff coming, but glad to be here and glad to see you guys.
Well, good deal. Well, Frank, what I want to do is get started, and let's talk a little bit about Grier. I mean, over the years, we've been on this just because of the market conditions and because of Craigslist. It was easy with everybody had their posters. We've been on the tick with going after buyer leads, and then y'all were really one of the first ones to go after seller leads. I think y'all had the first seller platform that I remember somebody having, with a full package. And because of the market turns, agents are more interested in listings now, because back when the market sucked, you didn't really care if you had listings because they weren't going to sell anyway. But if you knew you had a buyer, you had you knew there was a chance of getting a payday. Whereas now you want to double down on listings because you do get twice the funnel that you do on a buyer. So with that said, what are you guys doing kind of at Boomtown to change your target focus with the market conditions, and kind of how do you see it going? Because the way I look at it is, to me, it's still, we're just now getting into a seller's market again, especially on the coastal areas of both coasts, I think. And kind of wanted to get your feedback on that and kind of where you guys are seeing it and kind of what is your target that you're heading for.
Yeah, I think, buddy, it really goes around all the topics that we're discussing today. Number one, we've spun up an entire team to work on seller. And the way that we're looking at sellers is we need to be able to help our customers attract them. We need to be able to help our customers to work their sphere to bring them in, because that's a huge source of sellers still today, and it will remain that way. And we're also working on tools and automation to be able to help our customers to be able to follow up with their customers over time. And so it's a good, healthy mix. You've got to have the right tools that help you automate some of the things that a potential seller might want to see. They might want to see how things are happening in their neighborhood, recent closings, and what's going under contract. But there's a balance, and the way that we look at our business is our success is our customer success, but the customer has to put it in too. Boomtown is a great tool, but the customer has to be doing their part as well. And so I think mixing in a little bit of both, a little bit of the automation that we can provide from the data that we've collected over many of the years, but also the customer really has to be educated on how to really work those leads over time. And I think, Buddy, you're going to have some good insight into that later on in the call.
Well, what about how are you guys seeing using Google pay-per-click, for instance, retargeting and things like that? Because now you're actually able to re-engage with people online. We see Google retargeting as a really nice tool to re-engage and get to know them after they've kind of been introduced to you, versus a primary place to capture them. And do you guys kind of feel the same way?
Absolutely. A lot of the tools out there that we used, in the very beginning, was just simply Google AdWords, and because we were going after buyers, and buyers today, what they're going to do is they're going to go into the search engine. They have the intent to search for a home, and naturally they go to a search engine like Google and type in homes for sale in Charleston, South Carolina. So with sellers, that's a little bit different. And what's exciting about right now is the fact that there are many different channels that you can use. Facebook. Today LinkedIn announced that they had a new product coming to market that's gonna allow you to kind of do a retargeting thing with LinkedIn as well. Twitter has a new platform that's out and Twitter is also integrating video in there. And so it's a pretty exciting time, and there's a lot of different opportunities from an advertising perspective to get your name out there. And what I think that the great thing about that is it's not all locked into Google AdWords. It's not all locked into search engine marketing anymore, and that's allowing that that spread of ad dollars to spread across multiple different channels. And what you really need to be doing is staying on the forefront of all that.
Well, what I wanted to let's talk about engagement for a minute, because do you ever get fearful? And I know I've gone through this with my team and my company, that we're relying on technology too much, and we're losing the personal touch, especially when it comes to sellers, because I've always had the attitude that buyers buy homes, sellers buy the agent.
Absolutely.
So when a seller goes to hire you, they're not going to hire you off the internet typically. You're going to have to kind of earn it out. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
What do you guys see? And I know, Frank, you guys are launching a snail mail campaign. I saw that, where you can actually stay in touch. Am I right?
Yep. So the idea would be is that, with Vyral, you start with your educational videos. It's you on camera that you send out to your list. One of the other things too is getting very good at building a relationship with someone before they call you. So one of the things that we do is we took the entire agent sales presentation and wrote it down on like 8 sheets of paper. So it's 8 sheets of copy, and then you mail it to an expired in like a printed envelope. So that's one of the things that we're testing out to see if that can help our customers here at Vyral, is to kind of have the whole internet side of it, but also why not try a little bit of direct mail as well. But for the key with any type of seller is getting to know, they know who you are, they relate with you, they trust you, they seem to like you, they understand your value proposition, and you compete on the relationship. Whereas for a buyer lead, you're just competing on, show me the house. I want to see the property.
Yeah, the first one that'll open the door, the Pop-Tart agent will get the sale. So, well, Grier, are y'all? In your planning in the future, I know you can do exports and things like that. Are you seeing an integration somewhere down the line with doing some print, some note cards, some follow-up and things like that? Because I know in our systems, that's the agents have been asking for integration with print. In other words, how can we take this to print and scale print, if you will? Of course, I don't know how you scale and get a relationship, but somehow we're supposed to do that.
Absolutely, and definitely we're looking at those types of things, and the reason why is because you have to go to the channel that has the best return on investment, and you've got to leverage all these in just the same way that we're having all this innovation digitally. It's bringing a lot of the ad dollars online, which in the past, when markets were good and companies were making money, they just poured all that into direct mail. That's not happening so much anymore. A lot of that is now going into the online world, and so having a good, healthy mix of both is pretty important. And you can do that. You can automate that a lot with technology. And again, it's really about personalizing the content, I believe, no matter what channel you're using, and really trying to cater it to the specific person that you're sending that piece of mail to, or showing that ad to on Facebook or Google. It's really important to have that aspect of it dialed in, and really really just speaking directly to that customer. That only takes you so far, like you said, buddy. I mean, our success management team is really there to be able to help our customers to use best practices. And one of the other companies I'd like to call out here is BombBomb, who isn't on the call today. But the video is an innovation that I think is just amazing, and is being used so much more today than it ever has been. I mean, we're on a video call today, whereas 3 years ago we'd have been just on a webinar. And
if Frank had done this a few days ago, he'd probably be healthy, because he had to go to Philly first, talking engagement.
And I came back with the cold.
And who doesn't see Frank all over their Facebook wall? And so my Facebook wall is filled with video. That's pretty much all I see now, and it used to be just pictures, but it's a ton of video now. And so I think video is one of those things, one of those technologies that really allows you to engage better than even a phone conversation, using technology. So I think that's one of the great innovations, and it goes back to the agent, the consumer is buying the agent on the sell side, and really getting your face out there. And I think Frank and Vyral Marketing in general has done a really good job of helping coach clients in that way.
No, I agree with that. And the one thing that Frank's service does is it kind of forces agents to do what they need to be doing, because I will tell you, and I'm sure you've suffered with this, Grier, I've talked about it a number of times, I have a lot more respect for you guys in the web world than I ever had now that we've gone through guaranteed sale and free house values, because you can give somebody all the tools in the world and tell them how to do it, but they won't do it for the most part. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, do y'all struggle with that, or is it just me?
Oh no, I think that I think we can all attest to that. Frank included. I think it's that's what separates the best the best agents from the others. And so many coaches, and Buddy, you're a perfect example of this. Is somebody that is willing to share so much information, but the reason why is that very few are going to implement it. And go ahead, Buddy.
No, I was going to say, it's kind of funny, because when we've ever had agents leave our team or our company, it's kind of interesting, because the typical move that a broker or an owner or a team leader makes is they slam the door shut. No, you can't call these people or anything else. Whereas we're like, you know what? We're going to export your whole database and we're going to give it to you. Now, we're still going to be working it, but if you've got a relationship, you who's got the relationship wins. And everybody says, why do you do that? You're crazy. You should have a no-compete. You should do all this stuff. And we're like, because they won't do it. Okay? If they would do it, they would have already done it. So what's that?
No, it's true. I got a really good story to share. When we started Vyral Marketing about 6 years ago, we would ship everyone a flip camera, because that was a technology then. They remember the old flip cameras, and they discontinued them because they have.
I was talking about those with my brother the other day.
Yeah, the flip cameras. It's not that long ago, but now the cell phones, they got out of that business because the cell phones are so good. But we were in danger of losing our entire business, because we were shipping people the webcams, or the flip cameras. And then we would do a call to talk about what they were shooting on the video, but no one ever got the videos done because it was just hard to do, So what we did is we bought everybody webcams, just like this. And the webcams now are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, they look really good. And so what we do is we actually sit down and interview them on the webcam. So we're actually there on the other side, coaching them through what to say, telling you what to say, making sure the lighting looks good, making sure the video looks good, record it right to the hard drive, then it goes into editing. So that level of accountability, it's like, look, I don't know how the best way to say this, but, just being an agent has to be so, it's just lonely. You're out there by yourself. You're trying to do all these things at once. You have minimal resources, maybe some support staff, and the companies that have the best account management, the companies that have the best coaching behind it, whatever you want to call it, success management, the coaching, are the ones that are truly helping and holding the client accountable to really use the software and get the best results from the product, are the ones that are going to succeed over time, is what I'm finding, is the companies that have the best account management win. Because if you just give someone the technology, just give someone the tools, it generally doesn't get done very well. And I think we can all agree to that.
Well, and Grier, I got to tell you, that's a big thing that you guys have done. I think y'all came on board and y'all practiced what you preached, because I will tell you, I was down in Charleston a few weeks ago, and I had this conversation with Grier. I mean, you're talking about blowing it. When I come out of the gates with free house values, we came out of the gates with pretty much a programmer and me, and all of a sudden 600 people of our best friends joined up, and it imploded our entire systems. And we're still trying to recover and hire up to get people implementing and making sure they engage and use the tools, because I hate to say it, but our industry, and I'm one of them, is easy to sell to, but hard to get to actually implement and do things. And then when something works, you have to re-educate them why it worked. Because, I mean, the biggest thing that's ever worked for us has been, we would always do an every month or every 2 months newsletter to our sphere of influence and past customers. It works so well that we quit. And we keep quitting doing the things that actually work. And they're the lowest budget item out there. But I think a lot of it comes from ego, and it feels good to go out and buy the leads and stuff like that. But, Grier, I have noticed on different Facebook groups and things like that, one thing that a lot of agents are focusing finally on is return on investment and things like that. And instead of seeing who can create the most leads, because, back in the Craigslist days, what was that term y'all called it when Craigslist when they took away the links? What was it, Godzilla or Craigzilla?
Craigpocalypse.
Craigpocalypse.
No, Craigslist really cracked down on being able to post, and their terms of use, they made it so that you can't use posting tools that allow you to post faster. And then they removed the links and back to the websites, and so it became difficult to make that channel really work the way that it used to.
But it used to be that everybody measured their business not on their profit, but on the number of leads they would generate. You talk to somebody and they say, how many leads you generate? Oh, 2,000. I'm like, oh, how many houses you sell? 3. And I'm like, well, how do you pay your bills? So did you find that agents got caught up in the number of leads instead of focusing on the quality and actually working the ones they got?
The people that have the highest conversion rates, and just over the years, people have really been honing in on these systems and in terms of follow-up and figuring out how many leads they should be managing. And my brother's brokerage here is a good example. I live 2 doors down from my brother in the same cul-de-sac, and he owns the brokerage that was our first customer. The agents that he has that only keep 100 active people in their pipeline are the ones that convert at 7, 10. They had one converting at 13% of the leads that they received from the internet. And it's because they focused on that and they built that relationship. And I think that's even more important on the sell side. And so that's one thing that I've seen is focusing on a fewer number of leads, and not trying to have a database of 5,000. There's value in that database, but focus your energy and your efforts and your time and your phone calls and your real special treatment to a database of 100 or fewer.
No, I agree with that. And speaking of the seller side of it, one thing that we've noticed, and I know you guys have been doing it for quite a while too, is the conversion time, the cycle is so much different with a seller than a buyer, because number one is it's just longer. I mean, we see the activity actually starts peaking. I mean, it kind of comes in and slopes down and then stays steady, and then about month 7, 8, and 9, it starts picking up again. For whatever reason, they could be you could be a preemptive expired attack basically or whatever. But are y'all seeing the same thing with your seller leads?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a much longer maturation time, and it goes to one of the questions that we were looking to answer on this call is the difference between the different types of ads, and really it's also the difference between buyer and seller. Buyer, if you're using Google AdWords, they have intent. They're going to a search engine and they're typing, I want to see homes for sale in this particular market area. It's showing intent. But if you're putting ads on Facebook, like how much is your home worth, for example, those people aren't necessarily showing intent.
Right.
They might be they're further away from a transaction. They're earlier in the funnel than somebody that is showing actual intent to purchase. And so having great systems in place to be able to follow up and build that trust over time is very important, but it's also, it's also not something that you can fully automate. It's something that the agent has to do. And buddy, I know that you've worked on many different things that that help people follow up, and I would say that you and Frank are the experts on this, and I'd love to hear from you guys.
Well, I can tell you what we find works for us, and I don't know about everybody. I mean, the first thing that we do, we treat every seller lead, whereas a buyer, we don't mail out a package to every buyer or any of that. Every seller lead that comes through, whether they give us their name and contact information or not, or whether we got to look it up in the tax record, we're going to send them a note card, a business card, and a seller book. And we're going to assume it's the address that they're looking up, because most of the time it is. And so,
what is the seller book, buddy?
It's a 28-page. Let me see if I've got one here. I don't have one handy. I wish I did. I can post it. When you put this up, Frank, I'll post a link to it. You can see the electronic version. It's a really nice 8.5 by 11 book that we send them. It costs us about $3 to print and send it, and but that's a small investment, and we get in front of them. And we also send them. I'll show you this as I reach up. We send them a relocation guide. Everybody says, well, why do you send a relocation guide to a seller? Because they already live there. Because we want them to see how we're different. And this is a book. It's about 380 pages, all about Wilmington, for instance. And we had a ghostwriter prepare it, and we republish it every year, a new version with new pictures, and has interviews with people that's moved here. But the biggest thing is you want to show your value to the seller, because they're looking to, why should we call you to sell our house? Because it's pretty much, certainly I don't want to violate antitrust or anything, but there's very little differentiation in price. So the only way we can create our value is not on the price of it, is based on what we're going to do and how we're going to treat them, because their assumption is we're going to treat them like we would the buyer of their house. So the sellers, you got to work them all the way through it. And you got to we got a 4-year action plan for sellers. Okay, wow. Our buyer action plan is 18 months, because that's kind of the cycle that they're either going to do something or go get in a lease or whatever. But we really adopt our sellers and treat them like we would a sphere of influence, to be totally honest with you. I mean, if you do anything, just adopt them like you would and treat them with your newsletters, treat them with whatever you're doing for your sphere of influence and past customers. You treat the seller leads that way, because every one of these seller leads are local people. Even if they don't sell their house with you, they can refer you business, whereas a buyer, especially in my area, 80% of the buyers are from out of area. They can't refer me business, but every seller that comes through can refer me business. So even if I don't get their listing, so you really got to work it much deeper. And right now, where the beauty of it is, I mean, Grier, and you guys know this, the cost per click from pay-per-click or Facebook or anything for seller leads is way cheaper than buyer leads right now. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
And it's like 3 or 4 to 1, and the conversion should be better if you work it. But what happens is people don't understand it's a long-term war plan. It's not a one overnight battle. Whereas a buyer, it's quick. You first one to the punch, first one to get them in the door. A lot of times wins the game. But with a seller, unless they pick up the phone and say I'm ready to sell my house, which they don't do as much as they used to, because we are able to engage with them much earlier in the process, preemptively. So that's what we're seeing, and I think, Frank, that's where you guys are kind of headed to. You're trying to figure it out to get back kind of old school, if you will. There is a place for old school marketing. You don't need to spend all your money there, but there is a place for the postcards, for the newsletters, for the phone calls and things like that. I'll let you talk in a minute, Frank. I'm just trying to save you because I know you've got a tough voice. But even phone calls, Grier, we're finding the number our calls to get somebody on the phone is going up dramatically. Because a lot, like for instance, if somebody calls your phone, you don't know the number, most of the time you don't answer it. Yep. And most people are that way now. So the conversion to get somebody on the phone is so much more difficult, and now everybody's invading the texting space, and so that's going to be a real problem, because there's all kinds of still weird issues on that one. So a lot of it's the personal engagement and the videos and things like that. They're one-to-one. I got a video from Jordan Belford last week. I'm sure it's just a script he reads, because we had bought his course and took our company through it. And basically what it was, hey, buddy, he used my name. I'm like, wow, the Wolf of Wall Street used my name. How cool is that? So, I mean, even they're kind of catching on and understand that they can sit there and crank out 40 of those a day and use the name, use the situation, and, kind of engage personally. So are you seeing the same thing with you guys, Frank?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole reason we exist, is that you have to build the relationship online so they can actually take the conversation offline.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do, and this is the simplest way to get the result, is just take all the emails that you have. Don't worry about any segmentation for right now. And in general, whether it's a seller lead or a buyer lead or a past client or center of influence, really what they want from you is really probably just two things. One is a market update. What's going on with the market? What are prices heading? What's happening with real estate? And you answer that once a month for one of your two videos. And then one of the other videos is just a question and answer. So, hey, I was out with a buyer and they asked me this question. How do I compete in a multiple offer situation so my offer actually gets accepted? Well, I want to answer that question for you today in this video. So one market update and one Q&A. And then you send those two videos out every 2 weeks, excuse me, to every email that you have. And what's so cool is that with the most basic email marketing software, you can track who actually opens those emails or clicks the link to view them. So the people that click the link to view them are probably, all things equal, probably more interested in you than not, or more interested in having to do something with real estate than not. And you prioritize your phone call follow-up with those people. So you actually call. Let's say, I got to make some calls. I got 300-400 buyer leads that came in this month. Hopefully you have a very specific action plan for each lead, but most people don't. Let's just say you just send a video out to all 400 of them about 3 mistakes that are commonly made when buying homes this spring. Well, let's say 10% click it, there's 40 people. Great. I'll start with those 40 people that watch that video. Then I'll call them up and I'll say, hey, it's Frank Kletzik. I see you subscribed to the videos I sent one out recently on some buying mistakes. I was curious, are there any other questions I can answer for you about buying or selling a home? And you lead with value. Then after that, you simply ask them, do you know anyone who's looking to buy or sell a house? Oh, you are? Great. It's a good appointment.
It's kind of interesting. It's the same tactic that we use in recruiting, because what we'll do is agents that are on our hit list, we'll send a video out or we'll send a message out, kind of what's going on in the market, housing update, whatever. And you'll see the people that are clicking and watching it over and over and over. So that kind of gives you a tip to give them a call. I mean, obviously, you got to be careful not to be too big brother, but it certainly is, hey, by the way, I thought I'd just give you a ring.
The script we teach is, I see you subscribe to my videos. Not, I saw you clicked it and watched it. I wouldn't say
7 times.
Yeah, 7 times. It's really like that video. But seriously, that's where a lot of internet marketing is headed. So everyone's, it's not difficult to get traffic. If you're willing to pay for it, you can get traffic, right? I mean, Grier, what are people paying for leads these days in certain markets? $5 leads, $10 leads, $20 leads?
I think you kind of nailed it right there, Frank. I mean, anywhere from $5 in more of the rural markets to $20 in the metros.
Yeah, what's it going to cost me for a buyer lead in San Diego? $20 to play that game? $30?
There's pockets of San Diego that are more expensive. I can't remember, but there's this little island. What is it? What is that little island?
Coronado?
Yeah.
Oh, what's a lead on Coronado? I'd love to know that. It's probably expensive.
It's up there. It's up there. I think it's in the 15 to 20 range.
Yeah, and that's what you're going to pay to how much money you have to spend to get someone to opt in. So the thing is, you can get that traffic. It's how do you get them to engage with you? And I really do believe that the 2 educational videos a month is a great place to start. And then you follow up with phone calls that are watching them. That's my opinion. And then if you take it even a step further, you could literally have some videos and emails that are either texted. And I don't know what the terms of use are in that. Like, can you actually text somebody if they put their phone number in on a buyer lead opt-in?
People are doing it.
Yes.
There's systems out there doing it, yeah.
You can do it.
You can do it? Okay, yeah. So you text them a video like, hey, I saw you're looking for houses. I'm an agent. Here's a video on how I can help you, right? And then maybe you have some other videos that drip out to the buyer lead that's very specific to the buyer lead. And you can do that for pretty much any lead that comes in. And you do it over a very long period of time, which works out well. Then if you have, if you can do your mailing fulfillment, you do postcards, right, buddy? You have, what, 60 postcards that go out to seller leads over 4 years?
We do. We've got 60 postcards.
And you manually mail those using a folder system in your office.
Well,
that's insane.
We have been. We haven't figured out how to scale that yet very well. But the biggest thing that we mail out, to be honest with you, is the note cards. I could tell you, let me tell you a story about a lady in our office. And the interesting thing is, by being a broker, I get to kind of look top down on about 80 agents that are on. Some of them are single agents, some are on teams. I mean, we got agents that are by themselves with no assistant making $300,000-$400,000 a year, and don't even have a website, Grier. I mean, don't have anything, but they rely on their sphere of influence. And so I'm sitting there knocking on their door, like, what are you doing? And so this one lady, her name's Laura, she comes up to me, she says, let me tell you about this story about this note card. She goes, 2 years ago, I got an internet lead from this lady in Maryland. Okay? She gave me her address, blah, blah, blah. And so she says, I started mailing her, and I started then mailing her about once every 6 months. I'll mail her, and how are you doing? Never heard from her, never got a response from an email, never got her answer the phone, never got a text, never got anything. Well, 2 years later, somebody shows up and says, well, such and such gave me your card. And she's like, well, who? She goes, I was at a party in Maryland, and there was this lady named such and such. You said you were her realtor. So now, without a note card, that conversation never happens. If it had been just relied on telephone, that would have never happened.
Do you guys know anybody sending note cards to buyer leads? Anyone send handwritten notes?
A lot of our agents do. If they close for the address, and here's the script for the address. You don't ask them what's your address. Say, Frank, listen, this is Buddy. If you get them on the phone, obviously, you got to get them on the phone to get their address. And you follow up and say, Frank, listen, would it be okay if I mailed you one of my business cards? Great. Where should I send it? Don't say what's your address. Nobody wants to give up their address.
That's
and
good.
if you simply say, where should I send it? They will give it to you 90% of the time. You'll get their information. Then you got to follow through and write it in, put it in the computer, and then it takes time. It takes 10 minutes, basically.
What about sending a handwritten note to a seller lead that came in off Facebook to put their address in?
Oh, absolutely. We do that on every single one, and we send.
So that's everyone. That's raw right off the web. Whereas a buyer lead, you want to get them on the phone first to get their address, obviously.
Right, because you don't have their address unless you can figure it out.
Let's say they just entered the address and they didn't enter any of the contact information beyond that. Mm-hmm. Are you still sending them a note card? And what does the handwritten card look like? I mean, what are you saying, dear?
Well, what we do is we look it up in the tax. If we don't have the information, we call them no contact data. Right. And what we do is we go into the tax records, and we're assuming that the house they're looking up is their seller. The assumption is. And I think that's a safe assessment for most of them.
Right.
And if it's not, what's the worst case that could happen? So anyway, then we send them a book, and then the note card, it simply says, hey, Mr. Blake, this is Buddy from Remax. I saw you might be thinking about moving soon. And we use the term moving because we don't know if they're a buyer or seller, okay? But if you're a seller and a buyer, that's a common term for both of you, if you're moving soon.
Yeah.
So, and I just wanted to let you know that we're here if you need us. So, are you moving soon? We're seeing that as a really good conversion tool because it takes them down really quickly to a path of, are you moving? And we really did it out of accident because we started doing it in a down market, and we started asking them that because a lot of the people, we started a property management division, and a lot of the people, are you moving soon, so we could flip them over to that. I said, yes, we're looking at renting something. Well, then we'd move them over there. So it was really a qualifying question so that we could take it one step deeper than saying, are you buying or selling? It's kind of like when you're talking to somebody on the phone, in most states you're supposed to, at first substantial contact, ask about agency. You don't ask, are you working with an agent? First off, most buyers don't know what that means to begin with, especially first-time home buyers or people that haven't been through the process. You simply say, are you looking at homes with a realtor? Okay? Because then you get to the core of the issue. If you say, if you walk into a department store and they say, may I help you? You're going to say no. Well, the new no is, are you working with an agent? Yes. Please don't bother me. You got to ask, you got to go a little bit deeper. But if you ask that first and they say yes, then you're starting to get into gray area if you start asking them more questions about it. Because if they tell you they're working with an agent, most states want you to back off at that point from an agency standpoint. Whereas if you just kind of bypass that question and say, are you looking at homes with an agent? You know what I'm saying? Or do you have your home listed with an agent? So just get to the details of the matter. Don't get over here where they don't understand what you're talking about and assume they understand the same verbiage you're talking about. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's a very good script. I like that. I got a question for Grier. Can we talk about getting seller leads online? I think everyone understands buyer leads. They go type and search for homes on pay-per-click. The seller leads is a different animal. You can get them off Facebook by running the right selects on Facebook. Is there any tips on getting seller leads off Facebook? And then, Buddy, I know that you're pretty good on getting seller leads off pay-per-click in specific neighborhoods, right?
Well, we are, and we're very good at getting them off postcards in specific neighborhoods with what we call microsites, where you focus down on the neighborhood and farm them with every door direct.
Yeah.
And you create a microsite for that, and you're talking about segmentation earlier. Then you start building a database of a segmented by neighborhood because you're sorting it out that way. So if they came in on this site, then they're in Lonely Fakers. So.
And there's companies that specialize in that, where they send postcards out to drive them back to a seller lead gen page.
Yeah, you can go to everydoordirect.com. You can do it online or whatever. And
Well,
it's a lot.
Grier, I want to hear about Facebook. So you guys probably run Facebook campaigns. You know much about advertising back to a cellular lead gen site. Is there anything you share with us on what works with that? Because some people hit the holy grail with that, and other people waste a lot of money. Any tips you can share?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's it's kind of an ABT situation, always be testing, and so we're always running tests in different markets and trying to determine, okay, what's the right creative, what's the right call to action, and what's the right audience. And in my opinion, those are the three things that really matter on Facebook. The call to action that you see most of the time today is going to be how much is your home worth, and it's still successful. But again, as time moves on, that call to action is going to need to probably, you're going to need a different call to action to set yourself apart. But for now, how much is my home worth is doing pretty well. As far as audience selection, it's Facebook is awesome in terms of being able to really slice and dice by demographics. So let's say that you're targeting a specific ad on Facebook. Here's an example. So you're targeting a specific ad on Facebook. And you want to basically find move down buyers, people that are empty nesters that might be looking to move into a smaller house. You can do that on Facebook. You can pick an age range. You can say, are they in the market for a new home? The one thing that I would say is that if there is something that say, are they interested in a new home? But you're going to pay more for the clicks, and the reason why that is because Facebook has to buy that data about whether or not they're in the market for a new home from outside companies like Axiom, and so you're going to see a higher cost per click on those types of ads. But what we've found is that you don't really need to go off of that. You can really just get a very targeted ad, geographically and target demographically, and make sure that you have the right creative to present to them. So if I'm presenting an ad to somebody that a group of an audience that I've created on Facebook that is in the empty nester kind of stage of their life, I'm going to target that ad and say some things like looking to move down, looking to downsize, too much house, looking to downsize, click through here to see what your home's worth and how much equity you have today. That's a call to action that's very specifically targeted to a certain demographic and geographic area. So that's just one example, Frank. Other things and ways that I see the call to actions really differentiating in the future. Thanks for throwing that up there, whoever that was.
I don't know if you can see this, but Facebook actually has a option here of people likely to move.
Yeah. Yep.
So you can actually target people supposedly that are likely to move. That's the information they pull from Axiom. I thought I'd share that with everybody.
Yeah, likely to move, recent home buyer. So all kinds of different things in there, and it keeps getting more sophisticated every single day. I mean, Facebook's really just they're getting very, very sophisticated, and it's exciting to see these tools really evolve over time.
But it's working. You're seeing people pull seller leads off Facebook if they convert them over long term.
Oh yeah, and like Buddy said, you're gonna catch a few that are gonna be ready to move soon, but that follow up and that nurture process and we call it the zero moment of trust. So that zero moment of trust is when somebody finally realizes that they trust this person, and you can do all the automated drip campaigns that you want to do, but really providing differentiation in terms of the value that that you're sending. Buddy's got his book, his relocation guide that he sends out. Figure out something that's unique to you in that follow-up process, and whether that's video emails or whatever you might have, whatever channel you might have to reach out to them.
Well, I tell you, I was going to say, Grier, one thing, the biggest mistake I see a lot of agents make, because I see it in my own company, in my own team, is every seller lead or sphere of influence you should set up a save search or e-alert for, because now a lot of people say, no, I need market snapshot from top producer. No, here's the deal. Everybody wants to know what's going on in their neighborhood. So Frank, wherever your neighborhood is, if you came into my system, you should get an email every single time a new property either comes on the market or, depending on the data feed from the MLS, even sold data, but even if it's just new listings and price changes, and the subject line needs to say RE:123 Elm Street, something super personal, so that you differentiates you all the way from the subject line on. And I know with Boomtown, y'all have got that nice, sophisticated smart drip system where you can actually populate good evening, good morning, hope you're having a great Thursday, all this dynamic data, but along with the subject line. But I think that is critical. That is the simplest step that most people miss because they think it's automatically created for them, and it's not.
Yeah.
Not from the seller side. Or not.
Is there anything you can share on that, man? I mean, I would love to hear just from the marketing automation side of how much data feeds with big data and that type of stuff in that world maybe you run in, of how personal can we get these follow-up emails and these communications through automation?
Yeah, I mean, here's a story just from, I guess, back in 2009. So we launched Boomtown in the middle of 2008, and our success manager team, we figured out by mining the data back then that that we had about 30% of our repeat visitors were coming back from the automated e-alerts that we were sending out to customers that were searching for homes. And we didn't have that piece automated yet. We didn't have the system automatically setting those up on behalf of the agents. And as soon as we started automating that, 60% of our repeat traffic to the website came from those e-alerts. And so our success managers were just trying to pound this into their head, and they just it's just one more thing that an agent has to keep in their mind. And that's where the power of marketing automation comes in, and it's the same thing on the seller side. Just like Buddy was saying, it's so important to give them updates on their area, and it's personalization, not just around who they are, but where they are. You don't want to send them a market update for a tri-county area when they're really only interested in their own neighborhood. And so. Right now, where we're actually working, we have a separate e-alert that goes out to sellers, much like the market snapshot. But what it does is every time our MLS feeds update, it sends them new listings that come on the market in their area, under contract. If we have sold data, we put in the sold data in there, and it's personalized to them. And the engagement rates on those types of emails are huge because it is what they want.
Well, remember, buyers always start big and get small. Sellers always start small and get big. So it's an inverted process. And so even from your marketing standpoint, like you said, Grier, I mean, I would not be interested in some crappy email that's talked about Wilmington, North Carolina, but I would be if it was about Mason's Bluff, my neighborhood.
Exactly.
Because I'm like, whoa, that comes right to me. So.
And that's from a marketing automation perspective, that's what we're seeing is just.
But the problem is the agent, and there's no way around it right now, the agents have to go in and physically, I mean, it takes like 2 seconds to do, but they actually have to do it, and the ones that are doing it are doing very well from that because that's your catch-all. Because they may unsubscribe from your crappy drip campaigns or whatever you got out there. We're all using a lot of the old Dave Beeson stuff and all this, but at the end of the day, they may unsubscribe from that, but a lot less unsubscribe from the listing data feed. Would you have a number on that, Grier?
And here's, well, I don't have an actual number on it, but what I can tell you is that these things drive 50+% of the repeat traffic to our website, and we had tens of millions of visitors last year to our collective clients' websites, and so it's an extremely powerful tool. I forgot what your question was, buddy.
No, it was just about, have you noticed? I mean, is that conversations? Are y'all in process of trying to figure out how to automate the seller side so that get the e-alert set up for that too?
Absolutely. Yep. That's top of the roadmap for the seller team right now, because what we're seeing is the same thing we saw on the buyer side. It's the seller lead. Add the seller e-alert, but they're just they don't have the time to do it, and so it's something that we can automate, and we should, and we are. So that's a definite big step in the right direction as far as the marketing automation side goes.
I got a tip, if it's all right to share, about like the emails driving the traffic back. So, every quarter, every 3 months at Vyral, we send out what's called a direct offer to a list. So I call it our magical seller lead generation email because it really is magical. And if you're interested in seeing it, just go to Google and type in magical seller lead generation email. and all it is, and it'll show up because I happen to own that phrase now, apparently on Google. But every quarter, I just basically write a message, a really well-written message, like, hey, less change in the economy, jobs are up, jobs are down, pays up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The point is the price of your home may have changed. And if you want to find out what it is, click here to find out, right? So it kind of has a lead like that. What we do is we round up all the buyer leads that are sitting there in the system and round up all the other past clients' COI. You send that one simple plain text email out to that entire list. It drives hundreds of people back to the site to find out what their home is worth. And generally what we find is those leads tend to be really good because they're kind of sitting in their list. They've been nurtured by you. They're in your database for some reason. They're a little bit lower on the totem pole, maybe making a purchase or buying decision, And we find that those types of like magical emails go really well. Our clients get listings every time when those things are sent out for the most part. Wow. Seriously, go to Google, type in magical seller lead generation email. It is magical.
Well, you just never know where it's going to land because, what I like about the seller side is, that's what this business was built on, is getting listings. If you've ever seen anything, it's all about the listing. And, I had a story today. We have a little small groups meeting every other Thursday at our company. And one of the agents said, I got a call from this attorney that he's been on my list getting my e-alerts for 3 years, and he's got a couple that's going through a divorce and they have 2 houses to sell, and part of the decree said that this gentleman in our company had to be the person to list it, and it's because it's been on. Think about the power of that. No communication in 2 or 3 years, but it's been there, top of mind. Yeah. And the e-alerts, man, the save searches, I don't care what system you use and what you call it, those are the most powerful things you do, other than, I think, obviously face-to-face meetings is number one. And then number 2 is, certainly a phone call is pretty good, but I think the personal video, like you talked about, Grier, I think that is really, really powerful, and I think you're going to see a lot more people head that direction. The one-to-one, especially with sellers, because, if we were selling widgets for $15, there's not a lot of money to make. But the fact of the matter is most agents are in a market where the average sales price is $300,000. You're talking about $9,000, $10,000 on one side of a transaction. Well, you can afford to do a whole lot of videos for that. You know what I mean? It makes some sense.
Let's talk about those one-to-one videos. And we were talking about BombBomb earlier, a wonderful company, where it's that one-to-one message where you literally record a video sent to the person. One of the cheap, really easy ways is, we're on YouTube all the time making videos for clients. And this is going to go right to YouTube and be recorded, this Hangout. You can go to YouTube. I think it's like youtube.com/upload and literally just record a video directly to YouTube. So you can literally, on your navigation bar, click a link and just record a video literally right to YouTube and make it unlisted so it's not searchable. And then take that YouTube link and you can text it to the buyer lead. Or you can just email them that quick YouTube link where it's like, hey, I made a video right for you, and they press play, and it literally loads right from YouTube, and it's unlisted, so only the people with the link can actually see that. And it's a really fast way to get a one-to-one message out to somebody. I would love it. I haven't been in the back end of Boomtown for a long time, Grier, but is there any way or in the future that where you could just...
Yeah, Grier, let's talk about that. Talk about the value.
Can I fire out a video out to one of the buyer leads, like right through the back end of Boomtown? That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. And Buddy's laughing because he's hounding me for that type of functionality. And
this lead came in. Video send. Text and email.
No, what you don't know, Frank, is that technology's there. He's got the API. They're working on it right now, literally to do a one-click, or even from your phone. Lead comes in, gets texted to you, hit a click, and it says, like for instance, we will have that next week with free house values. When an agent gets a lead,
that's only a matter of time. The technology's everywhere.
No, it's there. It's there. The technology's there. I think y'all are working on getting it implemented now, right, Grier?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
But then the track back. What's nice about that is you can see if they watch that video, like you said, Frank. If they sit there and watch that video, and you get an update every time they watch it.
Yeah.
That is definitely. If you're going to call 10 people today on your opportunity wall, that is going to be way up there on your opportunity wall.
Well, let alone when you call, they actually know who you are now. Hey, I'm the guy that took that video.
Well, not only that, but you know what time of day to call. For instance, we've always told our agents, whenever the lead comes in, is the time of day you can call them, because that's when they're usually on the computer. Mm-hmm. So, don't call them when it's convenient to you. You need to call them when they're online.
Here's what's going to happen is the ISAs making the phone calls. Instead of making the phone calls, they're going to be sitting there firing off videos, all the leads that keep coming in off their webcams, and that's the future,
Oh, yeah.
Well, I will tell you this. Now, I have a disagreement with everybody on ISAs. I think the worst thing for our industry is ISAs to be calling seller leads, because a seller, I've seen that ugly picture, because a seller will eat an ISA up because they want to talk to an agent, they want to talk to the person that's coming to their house, an individual, because they're buying the agent.
Well, just with the buyer leads, firing off the videos to the buyer
Right.
leads, saying, "Hey, I saw you were searching for homes. I'm the agent that can actually help you see it. Call me."
Yeah, it's there. I mean, people are already doing it with their phone and just texting them a video. I mean, we got agents that, but the problem is you got to have a low enough volume of leads to do that. Like our conversion, I mean, Grier, you know this, we got 2 Boomtown sites. We got one for our team and one for our company. And our company agents get 10 to 20 leads a month, and they treat them so much differently than our team agents when they might get 50 to 70 a month.
Oh, yeah.
They treat them better because they're not spoiled, they don't cherry pick them, they treat them better and they convert them better because they're getting less, so you learn to deal. I mean, it's like food, you're going to eat more of it if you get it less. You're going to relish that meal that much better. So you work with what you got. And we, to some degree, we spoiled them over the last 5 or 6 years with hundreds and hundreds of leads a month. And now they don't know what to do when they don't have hundreds and hundreds of leads a month, because they've been grading themselves on by how many dials they can make and all this. When I'm like, screw that. How many people did you have a meaningful conversation with today? That's all I want to know. Did you talk to 5 people today? I don't care if you dialed 75. That doesn't matter to me. Did you talk to 5 people and have a real conversation with them? So,
is there any way? There's a software out there. We used to use a software package called Inside Sales for making inside sales calls, and they had this upsell for like $500 or $600 a month, where the number that you're calling, so let's say I'm calling a number in Charleston, it'll like change the caller ID so it comes from a local number. So I was like, these guys kept calling me, and like they kept calling me from a 402 number, so I was a little more likely to answer because I was like 402 is like my home, But is there dialer technology in the back end of the buyer lead follow-up that actually changes the phone number to the area code where the buyer lead is? Does that exist?
That hasn't been done by anybody, but it's obviously possible with Frank, we were talking about this earlier. I never answer my phone anymore if I don't know the number. But where it's not Charles, the number came in, you might be a little more likely to answer than not. Yeah,
right?
They got me. It was Talent Bin, so we were looking at recruiting software or talent finding software, and this is called Talent Bin, and they had sales, and I was like, I don't really want to talk about this, but how in the heck did you get an 843 number to come through when you were?
Yeah, they were probably using the inside sales dialer.
Yeah, they were using inside sales. Using inside sales.
That's a cool little thing. I'll see that in the future. See, firing off one-on-one videos. Let's talk about like the future of some stuff if we can share it. I definitely see maybe that with the phone calls. I see firing off personal one-to-one videos with people. I see that there's so many more things going live, like this live event. It's only a matter of time, guys. Like you're scrolling down your Facebook feed. You know how like the videos play automatically now? Ooh, right? Well, what's going to happen, the ultimate of social is this. I mean, this is social media, right? Like what we're doing right now. You're going to be on Facebook, and you're going to see a live hangout taking place right there, and you can jump in and hop on there and ask questions and so on and so forth. By the way, for anyone watching, we have a lot of people watching this, there is a Q&A up on here. So if you have a question, like us, Buddy, or Grier, or myself, type the question here on the right, and we'll be happy to answer it for you. But do you guys see anything else with the future? I could definitely see a lot of people, like with us, hiring staff to do nothing but hand-addressed letters. So you have that snail mail benefit in addition to all the technology.
Well, right? I think that's part of the deal, is trying to increase the engagement and the real engagement, and not purely rely on technology. I know Grier, you guys, we've seen your beta, and it's really impressive because you're going into the data mining.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically going into, and you're able to do tagging, so you can go in and enter different types of like you could go in and bring it down by neighborhood. You could bring it down by sphere of influence or whatever, or move it in 2014 or whatever. You can, y'all have got a lot of tagging technology that you're going to be using, but you've got a lot of reverse prospecting stuff. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we've got,
in other words, mining the data you already have.
Exactly. So mining that consumer behavior data, and that's really what we're focused on is taking that consumer behavior data and being able to determine who's going to be right for that home. And so, Frank, you talk about what does the future look like? Let's say you're going to show a property, and you've got your mobile device in your pocket, you've got the a Boomtown app in your pocket, and what we call them as best fit leads for a property. So if the score for for these leads based on the recency to the website, their attraction to homes similar to that one. Let's say that there's 57 for the property that you're showing, and we can recognize that you're geolocated at that particular listing, probably waiting on a buyer to come show the property to. I know my brother calls me every single time he's sitting in front of the property waiting for a buyer to come. Shoot you a little notification on your phone. You swipe it, it says record a quick video of your favorite part of the home and send it out to your 58 best fit leads for this home. Those are things of combining that mobile, social, and video and that reverse prospecting technology that we've created, and really making it something to where you're providing value that Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com cannot. A local realtor going into a home that is already at a home, so it's already convenient for them, going in and talking about the favorite features that they have about a specific home, and giving their local expert knowledge to that person in a video format. I think that's an incredible thing that could happen in the near future as well.
Well, basically telling stories about the house or whatever. I mean, every bit of advertising today, especially social, is who can tell the best story, and who can get the person to engage with them. And I think that reversing that data is going to be really powerful, especially if you can start bringing in these other medias like the video and the snail mail, the handwritten note cards, because if all of a sudden, if they start getting mail and stuff based around things that happen online, their actions online, just think about if they get swarmed at the right time. If you can figure out the right time when that swarm needs to happen for a buyer and seller, I mean, it would not be hard to swarm them. Does that make sense? And I think that's what your whole new beta system is going after. They could almost call it the swarm, because it basically is to swarm the people that are actually at that tipping point.
Yep, absolutely.
We got a little bit of time here. Let's get a question. Collier, how you doing, Collier? As a
Collier
question.
Collier.
Yep. So let's see here, man. What do you guys see as the next big call to action? I think that's one of the things we promised to answer is, my goodness. Sorry, everybody. Get your free home Vyral report, right? That's what everyone's running. And next thing you know, you're logging to Facebook. That's all you're ever going to see on your feed because everybody's running that, right? What are the next big call to actions that you think you might see?
Yeah, I've got a few here. So, a lot of people, want to know the price of their home, but what about what is the demand for my home? Understanding how homes that are priced that are in your specific neighborhood, what's the demand compared to the areas around you, and on the heels of that, how long is it going to take to sell my home? How many buyers do I have in my database that want to buy my home? They want to buy your home. Should I renovate my home before I sell it? That obviously takes a bigger data set to collect to really be able to understand that, but pulling permit data and things like that. So those are some of the ideas that we're spinning around in our heads is how can we differentiate in the future, and I know that my Facebook wall and being in the industry is probably one of the reasons for that, but it's pretty well lubed up with how much is my home worth kind of ads in my Facebook feed. So those are some of the ones that we're thinking about for the future.
Cool. Well, that's all the time. But that's all the time we have, man. We got 1 minute left, so let's wrap.
Let me give it 1 minute. Reviews, Grier. How can we get reviews of houses in the system, in the consumer?
Reviews from the consumer?
Of houses, yes, absolutely, or agents or whatever, because we've got a lot of people asking for that. Reviews and review the home.
That would be really cool. We'd have to change a lot of the rules with internet data exchange that we use to get the So
that ain't gonna happen, sir.
Yeah, that's. But I will give it to NAR. They've made some big changes and pushed some legislation through. Being able to get sold data from all the MLSs. They keep pushing the date back now, but it was January 1st where all of them were going to have to make it accessible. If you live in an area that has multiple MLSs that cover it, you're going to be able to commingle all that together. So some strides in the right direction, and hopefully that will continue in the future. Keep you guys competitive.
Cool.
We'll wrap
Thank
it up,
you,
buddy.
Grier. All right, thank you, Grier, very much for joining us today from Charleston. And Frank, thank you. I know you're under the weather. Thank you very much for joining us from San Diego. You just can't take the East Coast, obviously.
Nope, not one bit.
But anyway, thanks everybody for showing up today. And this thing's recorded, right, Frank? So it'll be available online later if you came in late. And I'll post in the comments the seller book, a link to the seller book, and some of the other materials that we send out. Also, this will be available on audio, too. I'll pull the audio track offline once you post it, Frank, on our podcast, too, the Buddy System. So you can listen to it in your car. But anyway, thanks a lot. Hope you guys have a great Thursday, and we'll see you next month.